Like my shirt?
It's a melting Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird. That's so cool.
Don't be a hater. Flash.
My Target Flash shirt.
Yeah.
My distressed Flash. All right, there we go. I'd say too. They said something about the new season of Flash and how Barry's going to be a changed man. All right, can we just have a fun little superhero show?
I know, seriously. Barry being tortured and fucking up everything is just not fun. What happened to the first season? That was fun. That was a good show.
I thought the second one was good too. The third one, though, the reveal was too obvious from the very beginning. You knew it was him.
Yeah.
I am the future, Flash. So clever.
Now, then I hope they come up with a new villain, because if they're like, no, for real this time, this guy is the fastest guy around, I'd be like, come on.
They said no speedsters for season 4. No speedster for season 4.
Good.
So, all right, here we go. Chris Kelsey here with somebody that I assume is Matt Howell. On this episode of The First Run, Matt and I are going to discuss, I don't know, Christopher Nolan's war film, Dunkirk. But is it really a war film, Matt, or is it more a film about survival? We'll also do a wrap-up of the San Diego Comic-Con, where all the geeks and nerds gather together for their annual pilgrimage to just bathe in each other's stuff. There's a lot to talk about. It's going to be a fun show. Let's start everything off, though, with a clip from Dunkirk. So, Matt, all right, Dunkirk, here we go. Let's just skip through it all. Matt, what are the odds Dunkirk wins Best Picture 2017?
What are the odds? I'm going to say 50%. 50%. Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can hear you, baby.
Yeah, 50%.
Okay. I'm going to go 75.
Because we haven't gotten into 75. We haven't gotten into award-based season yet, and those movies, they always come out of nowhere, and they forget about stuff that come out this early. I'm just telling you, 50%.
I think that's fair. I think more, I asked that question to relay just how excited I was for this film. The trailer that you just heard too, the ticking and how everything ramps up. Let me tell you something. This film is this his shortest film? We talk time-wise? It may be. Because especially as of late, Nolan's had an issue with bloat. Interstellar is long. Dark Knight Rises is very long. But this thing is lean. It's 106 minutes, Matt. And I'm telling you, you are on the edge of your seat from start to finish. I was tense and wrapped up this entire time. I'm telling you, I was on the edge of my seat, literally on the edge of my seat, Matt. And I'm not using that figuratively. I couldn't get comfortable. But I'm telling you, this thing from start to finish was absolutely incredible. What did you think? Where do you come down with Dunkirk? Give me the details. And why don't you tell the kids at home, what is Dunkirk even about before we get ahead of ourselves, which we clearly already have.
All right. So it's late May 1940, and the Allied forces have been pushed back after a failed offensive to stop the Germans in Belgium and the Netherlands, and the Germans have cut off the French armies and the British Expeditionary Force and the town of Dunkirk, or city of Dunkirk. And this is essentially the story of the evacuation of the British, what's left of the British Expeditionary Force, back to England, while the German army closes in on Dunkirk. And that's essentially what this is about.
There you go. But I think it's one of the interesting things that he does here, Nolan, in this film, is we don't really see any Germans in this movie at all, right? I mean, we see some planes, you know, and they're shot at a couple times, but there's never, because that's not what Nolan's talking about here. His film is about, this is not a war film, Matt. This is a film about survival. And I love how he plays with time with this as well, right? We have three separate things going on. We have air, sea, and land. And he tells a story from these three different perspectives, and we kind of weave in and out of the timeline of this film as well as all these events are unfolding. And I'm telling you, it is fantastic. But I cut you off. What did you think? Where do you come down for Dunkirk? Am I wrong, Matt? Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. This is, like you said, it's an incredibly tense movie. And I like how he plays with the kind of overlapping narrative. So there's really three narratives going on with this. There's the evacuation on the beach of the soldiers trying to get on ships and get out. There's the kind of Tom Hardy focused battle in the air coverage from the Royal Air Force. And then there is the civilian fleet, which the British called in to help evacuate because they didn't have enough ships. So they had a bunch of, you know, sailboats and fishing boats come in to try and get them out. So those kind of three stories overlap. And, you know, he tells you what it is, but it takes a second to kind of realize that these are all happening at different times, and they all kind of sort of condense or combine towards the end. And the way he did that, I thought, was really clever from a storytelling perspective. And it was, but yeah, it's not a war film at all. If you're expecting kind of Saving Private Ryan, big battle kind of things, you're not going to get that. It's really just more, it's really more of a suspense thriller. Like, it's kind of like the music is constantly going, and it's kind of that kind of constant, like, you know, there's big bad could happen at any second. You don't know what's going to happen as far as these characters that you're seeing, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I'd say it's almost like a horror movie as far as the suspense goes, as far as, like, you know, the kind of constant ticking of what's going to happen. It's like Jaws in war.
There you go. I like that. Yeah, because it's not just about heroics, right? Like your war films, your Pattons, your Saving Private Ryans, it's men overcoming impossible odds to complete a mission, save their friend, whatever the case may be. But that's not really what's happening here, except you could say probably for Tom Hardy, right? Who, may I say, with this film, now, I know we get a little sycophantic around here with Tom Hardy, and if any actor will be put into the vault where we weren't allowed to talk about him, it may very well be Tom Hardy. But let me tell you, I think when this film, he has solidified himself as the greatest living actor that we have right now, especially since Daniel Day-Lewis has retired. This is why I'm saying this. I think Hardy is a worthy man to take the throne. What he's able to do in this film, being basically confined to a cockpit and wearing a mask almost the entire time, but what he's able to portray and show us and give us, especially the fate of his character at the end. I think one of the greatest shots Christopher Nolan has ever made, one of the most impactful, at least for me, was the fate of Tom Hardy at the end of this film. What he did against all odds, and then his ultimate conclusion, for as much as we see, is just, I was moved by that. Not like emotionally sad, just I guess I'll emotionally just moved. I was moved by the whole thing, and just an incredible performance by Hardy. As usual, I can't stop kissing the man's rear, and I want to kiss more and more of it. It seems every time he shows up on screen.
Well, if Venom comes to pass, we'll actually see if that holds true.
That's a fair point. That could, totally. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. Do you agree though about my assessment of my darling Mr. Tom Hardy?
Yeah, I do. And what's interesting somewhere on some site about how basically he's had to act with his eyes, essentially just with his eyes, for at least a portion or the entirety of his last three films. So Dark Knight Rises, he's got his face almost completely covered by a mask, and as Bane, as Fury, he's running around with basically a first half of the movie. And this, like you said, he's got a pilot mask on, and all you see is his eyes. And the best part I thought was hilarious. Instead of like removing any of it, as it gets more into it, he puts more crap on his face. So you can't see really even less of who he is, and he still is able to convey all that much. But yeah, it's fantastic. He's fantastic. I think maybe for show, if there's any contenders as to who may be able to at least compete with Mr. Hardy.
There you go. We're having some technical difficulties there, everybody. I apologize if we're having some issues here, and Matt. So he just, again, just to confirm, backed up everything I've said about Tom Hardy, which is good to have that reassurance that it's not just my blind obsession with the man who should be the next James Bond. Okay. Any other thoughts you have on this thing, Matt? I mean, if I had any critiques of Dunkirk, I think that maybe Nolan sacrifices the huge scope of this real-life event to be a more intimate film focusing on a few people. I mean, I think you kind of lose track of how big a deal this was. There were 400,000 troops on this beachhead that they were attempting to get out. And I feel you kind of lose the appreciation of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. But it's not the story he wanted to tell. I mean, he obviously could have told, the French trying to hold off, the Germans as long as they could to get people off, and how it ultimately failed. And that would have been a fine war story, but that's not what he wanted to tell. I mean, he just kind of wanted to tell this, which is ironic enough, that this small scale story and this huge scale event, and it's it works. It completely works.
I agree entirely. So did you catch the Michael Caine cameo?
No, I didn't. I completely missed that. Who was he?
He was the Air Force guy, whoever it was, commander that was talking to Hardy and his buddy at the beginning of the films, and they were communicating with somebody back home. That's who it was.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So,
all right.
If you're wondering, anybody, spoiler, where Michael Caine is in this film, because he was in this film in some capacity, that's what his role was. So there you go. All right. So I got to tell you, Matt, Dunkirk, I think one of Nolan's best film, Matt. What do you come down? What do you think?
Yeah, that could be. I mean, that could be. It's definitely his leanest and kind of most propelled film, and I appreciate that because, like you said, after Memento, all of his films have been kind of bloated to either better or worse results. But yeah, I think this is fantastic. I think it's really good. Now, here's the real question: is this the best movie of the summer so far for you? Does this unseat Baby Driver as your favorite movie?
So I'm going to post it on Instagram later, and I can't show you right now, but I have a list in no particular order, except I think my top 2 of my favorite films of the year so far.
Yeah.
And I still have Baby Driver as number 1.
Is it? Yeah, I wouldn't. And this is, yeah, Baby Driver is still my favorite so far, but this is a strong number 2.
Yeah, it's number 2, and the rest of the films are, I think, basically interchangeable. So you'll have to follow us on Instagram and Twitter to find out, or you just go back to listen to an older episode. You can hear what my 5 favorite films of the year are so far. Right. So fair enough. All right, Matt. I don't know. I still have, for me, Memento as his best film. There's just something about the neo-noir style of that film that I absolutely love. So are you up for a quick top 5 of Christopher Nolan's best films? Can you put that together? I can read them out to you. I'll run down. Here's the 4, and I'm not including the following because I fortunately have not seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either. No.
So the first I got is and it's 9, right? 6, 5, 4, 3. Yep, 9. Number 9 I have coming is Insomnia.
Okay.
Then I have Batman Begins at 8. Dark Knight Rises at 7. You probably quibbled me on that. I actually have Interstellar at 6.
Okay.
And then here's where things get interesting. I think Prestige at 5, Inception at 4, The Dark Knight at 3, and then, of course, Dunkirk and Memento.
Yeah, I would actually go with that list. The only thing I would change, I'd probably flip Dunkirk with Memento at this point, but we'll see if that changes. And then I'd probably would put Dark Knight Rises as the second to last, and then I'd put Batman Begins above that, and then otherwise I think that's right.
There you go. How did you see Dunkirk? What was your theater experience?
It was a regular theater experience. I could not even get to the IMAX. I couldn't make it work, so it's unfortunate. But I had to see it in regular old screen size, no 70 millimeter, no huge screen for me.
I was thankfully able to catch up with the 70 millimeter screening of the film. I think what's interesting down here in Tampa, they have a Dolby theater, which I've talked about the last couple of weeks that I adore. They started with Valerian in that theater. And then after the weekend, or maybe even Sunday, they swapped out Valerian and put Dunkirk in there. So, I'm debating, do I want to see Dunkirk again? And if so, because my 70 millimeter screening was not IMAX. So would I go IMAX or Dolby? What would you do if you had the opportunity for the Dunkirk, Matt, for second screening?
I would probably go with the Dolby because I haven't seen the Dolby experience, and you've been gushing about it so much. I really kind of want to check it out, and I think this would be a perfect film to check that out in. So I would go with Dolby just to see what all the fuss is about. See,
I was confused because he shot it. He wanted everybody to see it in 70 millimeter, right? But it was also IMAX shots, and those aren't necessarily connected, right? It's not like it's. So I don't. That's why I don't know what to do. So, Chris Nolan, if you're listening, please shoot me an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com.
Please explain yourself to us.
Which would you prefer I see Dunkirk in from my second screening? I have some time next week. My lovely wife has gone away to Chicago, so I have a lot of free time on my hands, though I have some things to do around the house, of course. But still, I want to check out. We're going to check out Atomic Blonde, but I am considering a second screening of Dunkirk, and I need to know Dolby or IMAX. Help a brother out. Matt, where do you come down for Dunkirk? Give me your letter grade, please.
I'm going to give it an A. I'm going to give it an A, solid A.
Yeah, I think there's no other option. It is a solid A, and I gave Baby Driver an A+, so I think that kind of defines where it is on my list. Don't it?
There you go.
All right. If you had a chance to see Dunkirk, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. This is not a film that you can wait to see at home. I cannot stress this enough. Go see Dunkirk in the theater for the full impact. Tell me what did you go in? Did you go to Dolby? Did you see 70 millimeter? What about IMAX? We'd love to hear what you ended up seeing it in. Shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. That is August 1st. Tom Hanks plays Mark Zuckerberg as Gecko guy from Wall Street in The Circle. This is the one with Emma Watson where they're spying on everybody or something. I don't know. Conceptually, I thought it was interesting, but I don't know if I had any drive to see the film. Do you want to catch up with The Circle?
I mean, if it ever comes on Netflix, sure. But I mean, I'm not going to go out and actually pay any money for it.
Fair enough. What about Shin Godzilla, the relaunch of the Toho Godzilla films? I actually got to see this in the theater, though the presentation was not good. The bottom, I don't know, 10% of the film was like cut off the way they projected it. I was not happy about that and complained. They laughed at me and pantsed me. But still, if you're a fan of the old school Godzilla films, I think Shin Godzilla is a loving homage to those films, and it's fun and it's interesting. It's a new take. It's a kind of a relaunch, I think, of the Godzilla origins in this film. So, I don't know. Interesting if you're a fan. Go ahead and check it out. Slight, which is a film I really want to see, Matt. If you remember Slight, it's a young street magician who is left to care for his little sister after their parents' passing and turns to illegal activities to keep a roof over their heads. When he goes in too deep, his sister is kidnapped and he is forced to use his magic and brilliant mind to save her. So this is that superhero film where the kid's able to move stuff. Do you remember?
Right.
I don't know if you remember the trailer for Slight. We did not get to see it. I really would like to see this, so I'm happy that this is out. Maybe we can catch up with this at some point. And then for me, I think the big film I'm excited about, though there is still one more coming up, and it's one of my favorite films of the year. Spoiler when you check out the picture on Instagram. But this one is the Shout Factory release of James Gunn's Slither, which is a loving homage to kind of those 50s slash a little bit of 80s thriller or horror films. And I absolutely love Slither. Includes a brand new audio commentary with James Gunn, as well as Nathan Fillion and Michael Rooker, who I think are just like a murderer's row of character actors right there, if you can get a Fillion and a Rooker. Includes a new The Genesis of Slither, which is an interview with James Gunn as well, and an interview with actor Greg Henry, the other McCready. And it also ports over the audio commentary from 2006 featuring Gunn and Fillion, some deleted and extended scenes as well. A bunch of other stuff, including a gag reel. Matt, I don't think I know your opinion on Slither. Where do you come down?
So I've only seen it the one time. I enjoyed it. I didn't fall in love with it. But I probably should check it out again. I feel like I owe it to myself to watch it again and see what I like. I thought it was fun.
What we do, and I hate to say this because I don't want to rob anybody of some potential cash. I will be, I think, upgrading my DVD to the Blu-ray, so I'm more than happy to shoot you up my DVD if you want to watch it in standard def. If not, go out and buy it from Shout Factory, I guess.
Will do.
All right, and then the big release, I think, for me this week is Colossal, the Anne Hathaway, Jason Sudeikis drama horror film. Is there such a thing? What's a drama horror comedy? How would you call it? Horromedy? Horromedy.
That sounds so dirty. I don't know if you want to lead off with horror on the beginning of that.
That's a fair point. Drama. We're going to workshop that. But Colossal comes out from Mondo. They actually have a statue of Anne Hathaway's projection monster that you can get from them, which I think is kind of neat. So, but we both really enjoyed Colossal. So this is your big chance to check it out, though it has been available digitally for a little while. Matt, your straight to DVD pick of the week. Are you sitting down? It is
I am.
Cop and a Half, New Recruit. Grizzled veteran detective Mark Simmons, played by Lou Diamond Phillips, can't seem to catch the badge bandit, the city's serial prankster who causes mischief and embarrasses the police. Karina Murphy, played by Lulu Wilson, and that is how it's pronounced, Murphy, is a spunky 12-year-old who dreams of being a cop. She stumbles on Simmons' stakeout while she proves that she's got serious detective skills and a tech-savvy smart. While Simmons wants to ignore her, Karina, the police captain does the unthinkable and teams them up. Because obviously, the police captain would team up the grizzled detective with the child. Well, on the mission to stop the badge bandit, the unlikely duo go on a hilarious action-filled adventure. So if you remember Cop and a Half, which I believe starred Burt Reynolds, now's your chance to catch up with its sole sequel, Cop and a Half, New Recruits. Matt, what should we be streaming this week?
All right, so I think we've talked about this for the show, and I think it was one of our favorite films of last year. I'm going to go with Green Room, which is essentially a story of a punk rock band who goes to rural Oregon, needs to get a show because their show is canceled. So a local DJ hooks them up with a show in a club, and it turns out that it is a neo-Nazi punk club, which, if you didn't know, is actually common in Oregon, especially in the wilds, if you don't know this. So essentially they see something that they shouldn't see.
Starbucks out there.
No, man. Once you get outside of Portland, it's a scary place. Portland and Eugene, that's it. But yeah, it's about they see something they shouldn't see, and then it's they have to get out of the club, as you know, with their lives. And it's a very brutal, nasty, straightforward. There's no glorifying any of this stuff, and it's awesome for the punk rock, which I love, and Patrick Stewart, who is just fantastic in this.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart is terrifying in this. Jeremy Saulnier, who did Blue Ruin, which is another great film. But yeah, Green Room is fantastic, but it is a visceral and violent film. I think he went to the same guy Gaspar Noé went to get the effects of the brutality to the violence of the human body, where it looks very, very authentic, and it is deeply disturbing, but it is an edge-of-your-seat thriller that you will not soon forget. I entirely agree with your recommendation of Green Room. All right, Matt, let's move on and let's discuss last week's Comic-Con madness. Lots of geeking out, yo. So let's go ahead and actually let's have a little fun with it. You ready? Let's play the theme song to one of the coolest shows out there and a loving tribute to the 80s. So enjoy. Obviously, Matt, that's the Stranger Things theme. Whoa! Oh! Oh! I hit my button. I let go of my button too quickly. All right, here we go. I'm a huge fan of Stranger Things, Matt. I'm very excited that season 2 is coming. Let's start things off with a little talk about season 2 spoilers for Stranger Things. Not so much spoilers, but just stuff we can talk about that we saw in the trailer. So I think one of the big things we've seen so far for our friends there, and I got to tell you, I'm trying to think who my favorite character is in this show, and I keep going back to what's his name? The kid with no teeth. Why am I blanking right now?
I think it's Dustin. Although
Dustin
I'm not sure.
Anderson. Yeah, Gaten Matarazzo.
Yes.
I love this kid. But anyway, so in this trailer, right? So we're still having some issues where our missing boy, they rescued him, right? Will. Thank you. I know I just had it up here. I don't know why I was. So, but we get Will back, but now he's having visions of something horrible coming. And we have this big, crazy spider-looking monster that's showing up, and everything seems to be slowly bleeding into our reality. Matt, what did you think of the season 2 trailer?
I thought it looked awesome. I mean, I thought this was one of the surprise hits of last year. Show is fantastic. And it hit me in the feels. I mean, I got dangerously choked up towards the end there. For anybody who's seen it, you know what happens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Interesting enough, this is, and I think we're going to talk about something else a little later. This show seems to me that we're getting to a point where is reference culture starting to reach critical mass here? Because part of what I think people get so excited about this show is that all the 80s references, they're at the arcade, they dress up as the Ghostbusters for Halloween, all that kind of stuff. And it's all in service to the story, and that's fine. But I don't know, especially with something that we're going to talk about later. I don't know. It seems like this is we're getting to a saturation point. Not to say that this show is not going to be awesome. I have absolute faith in this show.
Yeah. I'm very looking forward to it. I'm curious to see too how we're going to get the girl back too. Like how I'm saying how much I love this show, and I'm blanking on all the characters' names. Her name's 11.
11.
Right?
11. Yes.
What it is? I'll tell you exactly what's happening right now. I'm looking at my notes. I'm looking at my screen at the same time. I'm monitoring my audio levels here, and it's. I need to focus on one thing. So, all right, I feel.
Yeah, Chris just has a much harder job than I do. I just got to sit here and screw up every now and again and look pretty on the camera. That's it. So, and one thing I think that I'm hoping that they get into is David Harbour's character, whose name is, I'm just kidding, it's Jim Hopper. He's the sheriff. So, but one of the things they hint to, they talk about in the first season, is his daughter had some medical issues as well, and something horrible happened to her. So I'm curious to see if she was part of the same experimentation that 11 was. And are we going to get a little more Hopper origin stuff? Because I guess they said that he will be humbled by the end of this second season, or something's going to happen to him. So, and I'm a big Harper guy. I'm actually on board with the Hellboy reboot at this point, even though there's no Del Toro version, because Harper's playing Hellboy in the reboot. So, but I think that'll be interesting to see as well. And of course, I don't know. We'll see if Winona Ryder can do all kinds of weird, crazy stuff at the Emmys again next year. All right. What do you want to talk about, Matt? So we talked about Stranger Things season 2. What would you move on season
to?
2? All right. So let's talk about. Can we talk about Thor Ragnarok? Can we talk about how Thor somehow the third Thor film has got me incredibly excited. The weakest entry in all of the MCU films as a whole. Like, I mean, if you said, I mean, I think Iron Man 2 may be the low point of the MCU films, but if you said Thor, I would be like, most of them are not that great. The more I see of this, the more stoked I get. And I think really they've started to hit the sweet spot with this, because I think they're playing off of Hemsworth's kind of goofy charm, like that we've seen in his other things, like in the Daryl skits and
Chris, F that guy. All right. First, one of the most gorgeous men on the planet, and he gets to have a goofy charm. That's my thing, all right? I got personality. I'm about a 5 or a 6, and my personality pushes me to like a 7, we'll say. But this guy's already drop-dead gorgeous, and he gets to be charming and funny as well. Screw you, Hemsworth.
Yeah, you're history's greatest monster. I take it all back. For a film.
Anyway, so you're saying Thor Ragnarok, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, like I said, I think they've got the director. I'm blanking on his first name, but something with Taiki.
Taiki Waititi, yes.
Taiki Waititi. He is, I think he's the absolute right person for this.
Definitely.
Kind of bringing in the funny, although at the same time, I mean, somehow they pulled in who's a big time serious actor, and she looks like she's having a hell of a lot of fun playing the goddess of death. So I don't know. I'm all for this. Yeah. I'm all for this.
I love Waititi. I think What We Do in the Shadows is great. Hunt for the Wilder People was my 3rd favorite film last year. Yeah. So I love this guy, and that newest trailer. You're right. Listen, the Thor films have been the bottom. They've been the basement. They've been the cellar. They've been the root cellar, the wine cellar. I'm trying to think of everything. They've been the bomb shelter. They've been everything for me in regards to the bottom of the barrel for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would watch Iron Man 2 3 times before I'd watch Thor.
Whoa,
so,
that's a bold statement.
Because, I got Robert Downey Jr. So I've not liked those Thor films at all. So the fact that I am so excited for Thor Ragnarok blows my mind. But again, there's an 80s saturation thing going on here too. That score screams 80s to me, as does the marketing campaign, at least specifically the title of the film.
Yeah.
So which is fine with me. We'll see. But yeah, I am super excited for Thor Ragnarok. We get to see Valkyrie. Fenris, the big wolf in the latest trailer, which is cool. A little sneak peek of Surtur. I don't know. We'll see. Supposedly what's going on too is that Hulk hasn't become Bruce Banner, or is he David Banner now? He's Bruce. He hasn't become Bruce Banner in over a year. And I guess that the Hulk and him are actually separate personalities, and Hulk is able to talk like a young child or something like that, like a kid. So I'm curious how that all comes apart, what Loki's influence in is, what side is he going to be on? There's lots of fun stuff to look at. And of course, like you said, Kate Blanchett as Hela, or Hel. I don't know, what is she? The hell is she? Yeah. Hela. I don't know why I doubt myself. So that looks like like you said, she's having a ball. Now I'm wondering if they're going to tie in. Here's my question for you, and we can move on to Avengers: Infinity War after this, because this is going to be our segue. So Thanos' whole thing, right, Matt, is he's in love with death, and everything he does is to please death. I'm wondering though if they're not going to do that, and we're going to shift instead and have it be Hela as Thanos' thing. And then what happens is, and now this is all conjecture on my part, all right? I'm not spoiling anything I don't know. Thor kills her. Something happens. He gets blown into space, which brings us to the Infinity War trailer. And then that's one of the things that totally sets Thanos off, is that his lover, Hela, the goddess of death, has been killed by Thor. Thoughts?
Yeah, that seems as good a reason as any. I think it's quite possible. And maybe this whole thing, and obviously he wanted the Infinity Stones before, but maybe him pushing is maybe some attempt to resurrect her or bring her back if he has all of the power of the stones. I don't know. So we'll see.
Interesting. All right. So let's move on then to Avengers: Infinity War. A trailer leaked online that Marvel has done its best to have pulled down everywhere. Because I wanted to watch it again this morning, Matt, and I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I should have used my technologies that I have to rip it while I had the chance, and I did not do that.
Yeah.
But still, so let's talk about that though first. Even before we get into the details of the trailer, what do you think about Marvel's policy towards trailers and how they won't release stuff like that to the general public until a very set time? And DC's been very different. When they had the Comic-Con trailers, they released them online the same day they showed them. So what do you think is a better way to go?
I think definitely the DC way is the better way to go. And here's the thing. I mean, if you were like showing like like an actual clip from the movie and somebody like take it down, I completely understand that. But at the end of the day, a trailer is ultimately advertising. It is a commercial. It is there to drum up business for your film. And I don't understand why you would take it down, because like you said, everybody has this crappy version of it. A bunch of people probably have it sitting on their hard drive. They're never going to get rid of it. I don't understand why they just don't release the damn thing and just let us all see it how they want us to see it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's I don't know if it's because they feel it's got spoilers for Thor in it, which I think maybe it does, because you see Thor floating through space at the beginning of it, and he runs into the Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe that's what they're concerned about. I don't know.
But I mean, here's the thing. You showed it to a hall full of 30,000 nerds, and half of them are bloggers. They're all going to throw it on the internet anyway, describing every little piece of it, so everybody's going to know. Yep.
No, you're entirely right about that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with you either. I'm on your side on this one. So, all right. So, Avengers Infinity War, Matt, couple things. We have some changes, right? It looks like there's a poster released as well. Black Widow now has like white hair. Chris Evans is Captain America, is rocking the beard in a new suit as well. There's speculation he becomes Nomad at the end of this series, maybe, and maybe Sam Wilson takes over, or Falcon takes over as Cap, or maybe Bucky or Winter Soldier does. I'm not sure which route they would go. What else? One of the big things that I'm nervous about, and I'm curious your thoughts on this: the death of RDJ. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. So here's the thing. There is big speculation that there is going to be a major death at the end of Infinity War. I don't know if it'll be the first one or it'll be the second one. But help me out with the timeline a little bit on this, Chris. When is Infinity War come out? The first one, it comes out next year, or does it come out 2019?
It's next year, 2018. And let's clarify too. Right. It's not going to be a part 1 and a part 2 anymore. There's Avengers Infinity War, and then the next film is going to be released in 2019. It's a sequel, but they say it shares the themes and the impacts of Infinity War, but it's not like it's one large story that's split into 2 films.
Oh, okay.
It's not a Deathly Hallows situation.
Okay. Interesting. So
not anymore.
Yeah. I think it's quite possible RDJ gets killed, although negotiations, we know Chris Evans has signed up for more films. He extended his contract, even though he was thinking about not doing it. But we don't know what the extent of that is. It could be that Cap is going to be the through line, that RDJ for this next series of Marvel films, and he's going to pop up every now and again instead of RDJ. I don't know where he is on his contract, so I mean that would be a huge thing to figure out. But it wouldn't surprise me. And honestly, I think the ones that are most at risk, RDJ, and I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man are probably the 2 that are going to be the most at risk here. I know some people are saying like maybe Scarlet Witch or Black Widow. Sorry, they could be, but I think if they kill Black Widow, I think the internet would have a meltdown. I don't think people really like Scarlet Witch that much, so I wouldn't really care, because I mean I haven't been super impressed with Elizabeth Olsen, so she could go and I wouldn't care. But yeah, I don't know. I think it could be one of those. But I think if it's going to be one of the big impact ones, it's either going to be Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. and then Rhodey takes over, or it's going to be Spider-Man, which it could be, and it could be both, because maybe that's how they get around, getting this back over to, if that's what they end up doing for the Spider-Man franchise.
Getting us back over to what? You cut out of me there.
Cutting it back out to Sony. So if like they only get to play with their toys for a little bit, with Spider-Man, maybe that's how they get around to reintroducing Miles, and then Miles is the Spider-Man.
I don't know how that's possible though, timeline-wise, right? Because there's going to be a Homecoming sequel that won't be out for 3 years,
right?
And Infinity War and the sequel come out this year and next year. So I can't see how that would work.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out, the timeline. I didn't know if Spider-Man Homecoming 2 or whatever it's going to be called. I didn't think it was coming out in 2020. I thought it was coming out in 2019.
Oh, you know what? It may very well. I've found that the timeline, well, the time difference tends to be 3 years with these types of films. At this point, we're not getting 2 years anymore. Everything is 3. So I just assumed that. But let's see. The sequel's scheduled to be released July 5th, 2019. So there you go.
So yeah, what I think will end up happening, I think he makes it through this one that comes out next year, but the follow-up one, however that works out, I don't think he makes it out of that one. Or because I think Spider-Man Homecoming will come out before the Avengers Infinity War 2.
Infinity War Part 2, or whatever you want to call it, is May 3rd, 2019, and Homecoming is July 5th, 2019.
Okay.
So I guess that's a no, unless it takes place previously, but they're not gonna, that doesn't make any sense.
They're not going to do that now.
So, all right. So
can we just get the X-Men and the Fantastic Four back in Marvel? Can we just get it all together? We can just drop all this Inhuman crap and we can get mutants and X-Men and Fantastic Four. Please, guys, come on.
Are you going to watch the Inhuman show?
You guys are screwed up. I don't know, man. It does not look good. I mean, I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just because fanboy support, and I stuck with it, and it's gotten a lot better. But I mean, those first seasons were just rough. They were just a slog.
Well, I think the issue more for that show was the first half of the season, while they basically tread water until Winter Soldier came out, and then they were able to go crazy. Right. And I think it's been good since then. And I thought this last season actually was pretty good. They had 3 different storylines in this one season, but still, I really enjoyed it. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been really good the last few years.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna watch it. I probably will give it a chance, but we'll see. I think it's gonna have some growing pains, and you may just have to stick with it as far as the Inhumans go.
All right. So, what are the odds, Matt? I want to hear it from you that Robert Downey Jr. dies, and at least in this Infinity War 2 film showcase. Give me a percentage.
I'm gonna say 65%.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. That's adorable.
Is it? Adorable.
All right. Aww. So we're coming at 65%, which is way too high for me. That would really upset me. But whatever happens, happens. We'll see. Because again, it is fiction, Chris. It's not real. Robert Downey Jr. is alive and well. It'll be okay.
Yeah. I can see if RDJ, if Iron Man dies, that Chris will go into a period of mourning where we're gonna have to wear black on the show for like a good 2 months.
Easily. All right, so let's move on then. We got 2 things I think left for us really to talk about. The first thing we'll talk about is Justice League. Then we'll keep with the superhero focus, Matt. The big thing for me, so we got a 4-minute teaser for Justice League, even a little more information. We finally get to see J.K. Simmons as James Gordon. Well, no, he was in the other trailer too. Never mind. We get a little more of him in this. We get a little more Alfred this time as well. We get a shot of Lois Lane. We get a real kind of look, sort of Steppenwolf. Not a lot, but a bit, some hidden shots. Flash has a nice little moment as well. When he doesn't really have, what does he say? I don't really have combat experience. Something I just run I push people and I run away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought it was good. My concern with watching it was that it felt like just a collection of moments. Now, granted, it is just a trailer. But my concern is if it was a different director, that would not worry me. But considering Snyder was helming this thing, and he's always more concerned with visuals than he is with telling a compelling story, that's just we're going to get more of the same. Except, Matt, this week it was announced $25 million worth of reshoots for Justice League are being conducted now. I'm assuming at the behest of Mr. Joss Whedon.
He probably just went and kicked open whoever the head of Warner Brothers DC unit. He just came storming in, kicked open the door, and be like, "Look, just turd a little bit. We got to do something because this is completely wrong." I hope that's what happened. I don't know. I'm with you. I mean, here's the thing. We know I'm the Marvel fanboy of the group. Chris is the DC fanboy. Chris he's gonna give DC a hell of a lot more slack than I am. I'm very nervous about this. I'm very nervous. I'm not convinced. This looks, again, it looks like Batman versus Superman with like a sprinkling of comedy in it. And I'm not down for that. I'm not going to go watch this. So. Oh, you're going to watch it, son. You understand? You're going to watch it. Let me take this back. I'm going to go watch it. But if this thing is as bad as Batman versus Superman, I will protest every upcoming. I'm going to make Chris go watch them first, and then he can come back and tell me if they're any good before I even agree to do them for this show. It's going to be like a Transformers movie thing. Is what it's going to come down to. I don't know. I'm very nervous. I'm going to see it, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. But I'm not sold. I'm not sold. I think you're completely right. I think this is going to be, let's spend 10 minutes of Wonder Woman and Batman thinking about people, and then let's go do 15 minutes with Aquaman, 15 minutes with Cyborg, 15 minutes with, Flash. Okay, now we've got like 20 minutes left in the movie. Let's bring them all together and do the thing. And that's really what this is going to be.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident that's what's going to happen. And listen, I think I've hardened a bit over the past few months with this stuff. I think I've realigned my BVS. And
that's thanks to Wonder Woman, really. I mean, that's a good, fun film. I mean, it's a good, at least somebody knew what the hell they were doing. I mean, I can quibble about the visuals. I think it was still a little too dull, but otherwise I thought it was great. So, if they can pull that off, I don't think they're going to pull that off as long as Snyder's doing it, is in charge of any of these films, or anything that he directs. I think our only hope now is the standalone films. I am excited for the Matt Reeves Batman film. I'd be interested to see the Flash because I think he's goofy and fun. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Supposedly Snyder wiped all mentions of Justice League from his Twitter profile as well.
Oh, really? Wow. Oh, but nerd alert. We did get a mention of the Corps, so the Green Lantern Corps. I'm hoping. You think we're going to get a little bit of a teaser, a little slip into there?
I think so. There's got to be some surprise, something. I'm not talking just the fact that Superman's going to show up at the end. There's also speculation with the trailer. We can actually talk about that. There's a Supergirl appearance, because there's a scene when Bruce is looking at like a computer generated hologram of there's a floating red cape, and as the cape moves, there's a boot and a skinny bare leg out of the boot, it looks like.
Okay.
And so odds are, as somebody said online, either Superman skipped leg day, or and I think it's quite possibly that it's Supergirl in some capacity. No,
knowing Snyder, it's actually Power Girl in her full white boobless regalia.
That's true. Oh man, is there any way to justify Power Girl's outfit? I know they tried it in a comic once.
They tried it. It was so bad. It was so dumb.
Her thing was like she didn't have a home and didn't really know who she was, so she didn't feel appropriate having an emblem on her chest.
Yeah. So she just cut it out. Cut it out.
So bad. I know it's so bad.
Guys. If you've never seen that, go look up that panel, because at the end she's crying and biting her lip. It is the dumbest thing you've ever seen. Go look, just find that one page online. It is everywhere.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. So, all right. Well, we'll see what happens. Oh, anything else in the trailer? I mean, we got more parademons, I should say, and
I'm hoping. You know what? I'm still holding out some kind of perverse hope that they let Ryan Reynolds be
Green Lantern.
That would be awesome. Like they bring him on just for a bit, and then they bring in like Jon Stewart or something like that.
Yeah. Who do you think we're gonna get? Are we gonna get Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart? I think just for the sake of just like Cyborg is now a founding member of the Justice League. Right. I'm fairly confident we'll get a Jon Stewart, and I don't have a problem with that as long as we get Hal Jordan some capacity, or maybe we just give Jon Stewart Hal Jordan's personality. Or is that a horrible thing to say? Huh.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Jon Stewart's cool. He's not bad. I mean, here's the thing. We've had There's like 3 concurrent Green Lanterns plus, well, 4 if you count Kyle. I forget his last name, but there's Kyle, Jon Stewart, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, and freaking Hal Jordan. So you got Earth for some reason has freaking 4 Green Lanterns. I guess we're really messed up, or everybody wants a piece of us. So I don't know. And we'll just get them all.
And I think why I say I want Hal Jordan's personality for Jon Stewart is I want the arrogance. I want the steps that lead us to a parallax. If they would ever do that, because they kind of screwed up the parallax thing in the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds. I don't want that. I would like to see the Hal Jordan goes mad and tries to fix everything by killing everybody.
Yeah, you're right. Jon Stewart is very stable and heroic and kind of always does the right thing kind of thing. Which is boring from a compelling narrative kind of standpoint. So. Exactly. I got you there.
All right, we'll have to see how that all shakes out, and maybe I don't know if Joss Whedon can take off the saturation filter that Zack Snyder puts on all of his films. We'll have to see how that turns out. All right, Matt, and let's wrap things up. Let's discuss a film that got a lot of backlash, I guess. I don't know why. Maybe you can explain it to me. Steven Spielberg's is Ready Player One. So why don't you tell us what that's about?
So it's based on a book, and I've read the book, and essentially what this is about, it's about a dystopian near future where basically Earth is, well, America is completely overcrowded. There's very little food, there's very little resources. So basically what everybody does is they escape into these very realistic, better than real virtual reality games. And there's one that's kind of like this it's basically every game that you could ever think of rolled up into one, called the Oasis. And essentially it's about the creator of this game has left clues behind to give him access to his fortune, which is worth billions and billions and billions of dollars, and will give somebody control of the Oasis if they can solve the puzzles in the game. And basically how people have been trying to solve this for years, for decades, and essentially one player who's a nobody solves the first puzzle, which starts a whole thing of people racing to get the actual thing completed, and that's really what the story is about.
Isn't there also a complete bad corporation narrative in this as well, trying to take over?
Yeah, essentially. So it's essentially you've got the normal players, the regular people, but then you've got corporations who want that wealth. So basically they hire just kind of like a bunch of corporate people. That's your job. You just go in, you play the game like for 10 hours a day and literally try and find and solve these puzzles. And so because if they can get it, there's no stipulation. Whoever gets it gets control of the Oasis, and they want to be able to monetize it more and get all that money. So that's really what that's for. But it's a complete reference fest. This thing is wall-to-wall 80s, and in 80s for sure, like 80s, maybe early 90s references. And if you're not familiar with that stuff, it's going to go completely over your head because it is non-stop throughout this whole thing.
How is the book?
I loved it, but I'm old. Yeah, it's interesting. It's fun just because of all the kind of minutia they pull out and all this kind of stuff they pull out. And if you're familiar with it, it's a lot of fun to see how they incorporate all that. But it can be, if you kind of look at it from a 10,000-foot level, it's kind of a basic storytelling thing. It's not fantastic, but it's fun. If you haven't read it, check it out. It's a super fast read. So
okay,
it's going to go over a lot of the population's head. I mean, it's made for 30, 40 something geeks like us who who lived all this stuff. I mean, that's really what I think the backlash is going to be. If you bring in some 15-year-old kid, he's not going to know what half the shit is.
So what do you think of the trailer? What are your thoughts on it?
I thought it was cool. I mean, I was busily, again,
trying to spot all the references.
Yeah, I was trying to see everything. I was like dissecting it, and I think that's part of the issue. Is it going to be? Are you going to spend the whole time just saying, "Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that," for everything that they've got in it? Or are you actually going to have a good movie? But at least it'll look good. It's Spielberg, so it's going to look good.
Yeah. So what are some of the references we see in the trailer? So we get Iron Giant, clearly, the DeLorean from Back to the Future. There's some, I think, a DC Universe reference here and there. Lord of the Rings, Freddy Krueger, Duke Nukem is in there. The car, Christine, the A-Team van. I think too the Mad Max car is in that too, if I remember correctly. There's an Akira motorcycle, right? The Bigfoot truck.
Yep.
I mean, then that's just in the first minute of this trailer. All this stuff is squeezed.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it. I have no touchstone with any of this stuff. I should say the references I do. I'm not familiar with the story. Since it's coming out in March of next year, maybe I'll have a chance to read it or listen to it. Let's be honest. But it also it's Ben Mendelsohn and Mark Rylance are in this, who are two really strong actors. Simon Pegg as well. So, and of course, like you said, it's a Spielberg thing. So odds are you're at least going to be entertained for the 2 or who knows 3 hours of this thing. So I don't know. It's interesting, Matt. Out of all the trailers and all the things that I saw when researching the Comic-Con, this one was the most interesting to me. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's definitely, I'm not even going to lie, it's something I'm going to go check out. And I'm hoping we get, something like Minority Report Spielberg versus, AI Spielberg. So, so we'll see what we get.
All right. Well, that's that. Is there anything else about Comic-Con you wanted to briefly mention?
No, I don't think so. Although I wish we got to see the Black Panther stuff, but we didn't because
No.
we weren't, crammed into a hall of 30,000 people.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Marvel.
Yeah, you guys suck.
So we're having the Tampa Bay Comic-Con actually is this weekend down here, Matt. And
okay.
Kate Beckinsale and Rose McGowan are both going to be there. Supposedly Val Kilmer was supposed to be, but he dropped out for some reason. I don't quite know why. So, and I will not be going. I went last year and it was okay. But they're just, I don't know what it is. It's just a thing about, this way. My linchpin right now, I think, is Tony Harris, is how I look at it. If I can get, Tony Harris is probably my favorite comic artist of all time. He did Starman, Ex Machina. I love the guy. I have some of his actual original artwork. So I'm a big TH fan. So if he ever came around, I'd probably track him down someplace around here. I think he lives in Atlanta, though, so which is not that far from where I am. Either way, there just wasn't enough. And I guess this is a critique, and I apologize, Tampa Comic-Con, but there wasn't enough there to really pull me there this time. It's $30-$40 a day to go. And then if you wanted to get like Beckinsale's or McGowan's autograph, it's $80 on top of that.
Right.
And I just, why would I do that? There's a Criterion sale at Barnes & Noble right now. I can blow my money there.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, let's be honest, Chris. We're getting old.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. I mean, we don't want to go in a crush of people. And when we were kids, I mean, when we were kids, I mean, you went to cons because the internet didn't exist. That's if you wanted some of this weird stuff, that's the only place you can get it. But why would I go to a con, be pressed up against, 50,000 people and then pay 2 times, 3 times as much at a booth for something I could go find on eBay for way, way cheaper and never leave my house, which sounds like I'm a shut-in, which I basically am, but still, there's practical reasons.
Yeah, no, you're entirely right about that. All right, as we talk about going out to the theaters to see a new movie next week, we're going to see Atomic Blonde. Did you see the new trailer for it? I have not seen it yet. I have to catch up with that.
Yeah, I saw it.
That didn't sound reassuring.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to be straight up real with you. I don't understand the nostalgia. I mean, I get it because you were a kid or whatever, but the TV movie is not good. The book is not great. The most interesting part of it is when they're kids, and that's only going to be the first movie. The second movie is going to suck even worse. So, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to see it, but I'm not super excited for it.
Interesting. All right. Well, next week we're going to talk about Atomic Blonde. There's a couple of things that are still floating around. I want to see Lady Macbeth, and then A Ghost Story. I'm still seeing. I guess it's playing in one theater within like a 30-mile radius of me, so I may go try and check that out. I did see The Little Hours, the Alison Brie film with Kate Micucci and what's her name from Parks and Rec. And she's got that other movie.
Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza, thank you. And I absolutely loved it. It is a raunchy comedy, and I'll talk about that maybe a little bit next week. So that's it for this week, Matt. We're going to take an extended break. And, well, actually, hold on a second. As always, I'm all over the place today. I got to focus, Matt. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. Just do a search for The First Run. Scroll, scroll, scroll. You'll find us. Shoot us an email at feedback at The First Run. And that's it, Matt. Let's take an extended break, and we'll see you all soon.
Bye.